Hello everybody, and welcome to American Aviation Network's special interview with Nat Pieper, the Senior Vice President of Fleets, Finances, and Alliances at Alaska Airlines.
And the Treasurer at Alaska Airlines. Welcome, Nat.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
So, we're here to talk today to him about Alaska Airlines' fleet decisions to remove all of their Airbus aircrafts and a few other decisions about Alaska Airlines' future as Seattle's hometown airline. So, I'm going to start us off by asking, why are you guys getting rid of your Airbus and DeHavilland planes?
I think, great question, and nice to be with you guys. I think for Alaska, the reason that we are centering on all Boeing aircraft for our mainline operations and all Embraer aircraft for our Horizon regional aircraft is that those are the best airplanes that make the most sense economically for Alaska. It's been proven in the airline industry that actually simplicity from a fleet perspective is really the way you want to go. And so having just one fleet type, the 737 for Boeing, the Embraer E175 on the regional side, it just makes the most sense for Alaska. It makes the most sense as we try to plan the airline for our crews, our great flight attendants, our pilots, all of our mechanics. Just knowing one type of airplane as opposed to having to worry about and think about more than one type makes it easier and makes it really best for the airline.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, so my next question is, do you have any plans to go long haul and get wide-body jets?
That is an excellent question. I can't say anytime soon, but I do think Alaska is a global airline today. So guys, we fly just in the U.S. and to Canada and to Mexico and the Caribbean. So we are a little bit international, but we don't fly to Asia. We don't fly to Europe. But what we do have is a global alliance network. So we have other airlines that we work with that fly to those places, and we connect our flights to theirs, and then their airplanes fly to Tokyo, Japan Airlines, for example, or London, from Seattle on British Airways. And we just joined up with them about 18 months ago. And it wouldn't be immediate, but as folks in London now know, Alaska Airlines, or folks in Tokyo know Alaska Airlines, who's to say that, 5, 10, 15 years from now, maybe we fly our own airplanes to Tokyo and to London. We'll just have to see.
Would that be a goal for you? I see that Qatar model behind you as one of your One World Alliance flying code share. I flew down with Alaska Airlines to Orange County, SNA, over the summer, and it was a code share with Qatar, and I could see you guys are having a lot of code shares with them on One World. Would traveling more international, like to Asia, be a goal for you to work towards in the next few years as something you would want to do?
I think it would be a fun thing to do. I think the most important, guys, whether it's in the airline business or it's in any industry, you really want to focus on things that you can do well. And so our biggest thing is we want to be the number one airline up and down the West Coast, and we're doing fantastically well with that. I think then we want to be bigger just in the U.S. So people up and down the West Coast, certainly in Seattle, up in Anchorage, San Francisco, San Diego, everybody knows who Alaska Airlines is. Yeah. But if you were in New York City or you were in Boston, Philadelphia, maybe not. They'd be like, well, Alaska, are you based in Anchorage? You actually fly? And so the first goal is to get bigger and more well known, I think, throughout the United States. And then as we start to do that and we grow and we feel confident of where we are in that space, then you might think about how do we further grow the airline? And maybe it is partnerships. Maybe it's a bigger cargo airline, for example, different ways to kind of grow your business. And then maybe someday, sure, flying long haul with our own airplanes could be something that's in the cards. But that's, I think, I would call that a much longer term goal. Near term, we're just trying to get bigger and more well known in the U.S.
Got it. Thank you.
Asher, next question.
It's definitely been about playing the cards you're dealt in the aviation industry. And so there's been right now a lot of rumors and speculations that in the next decade or two, Embraer will be moving closer to the wide-body market. We have noticed that Alaska Airlines and Horizon has had a very close relationship with Embraer. Embraer is your number one fleet choice for Horizon. So if Embraer were to release wide-body jets, would you find yourself in a position where you guys could possibly invest?
That's a great question. And I think what's amazing to think about is, as you probably, as long as you've been alive, Embraer has been flying airplanes in the U.S. But I'll tell you, when I first discovered airplanes, and really, I've been in the business for 25 years. And frankly, if you go back 30 years, 35 years, 40 years, nobody in the U.S. could have even contemplated that there would be an aircraft manufacturer in Brazil, which is where Embraer is located, that they would be producing passenger aircraft and that they would be all over the place in the U.S., in Europe, and frankly, all over the world. People just wouldn't have been able to figure that out. They knew Boeing, they knew Airbus, and McDonnell Douglas was a manufacturer in the U.S., a couple of others in Europe. But that concept would not have anybody would have known that made any sense. But Embraer makes great airplanes, exactly as you talk about, and we've kind of grown with them. And fantastic aircraft, wonderful experience. Our guests love them, and Embraer, we've gone down. We've actually, our president of Horizon is actually going down to Brazil in a couple of weeks to meet with them, to walk the factory, and we're going to take delivery of a new Horizon airplane that'll fly back here. And Embraer makes great airplanes, and they do a lot of defense business and build defense aircraft as well. And so over time, I don't know what their aspirations are and how big they want to be, but sure, if they eventually produce a wide-body aircraft that were as good economically as others that were out there, we have confidence in their operation. They build good ones today. So who's to say?
So there have been a lot of rumors about this, and Finn has a question right now.
Yeah, so as you know, Airbus has recently test flown their A321 XLR. And when that becomes, on the market, will you buy it despite retiring all Airbuses?
I think we wouldn't, truthfully. And I think we have, again, as I said, and you guys asked great questions about near-term goals and long-term goals. I think one of the things at Alaska, again, getting to just Boeing airplanes, it takes a long time. You can't just park all of your Airbus airplanes and then, do it in an overnight, for example. I mean, that's a lot of capacity. Today, it's probably 30% of our fleet. So as we park those aircraft, eventually we want to enjoy the benefits of just having all Boeing airplanes. And from where we fly today, our Boeing MAX 9s that we've taken now 35 of them, it basically can cover almost the entire country and every place where we want to go. And then you're going to see us next year start to take MAX 8s, which have even a little bit more range capability. They can fly a little bit farther. And then the year after that, we're going to take MAX 10s as that airplane gets certified. And that airplane is as big as the A321. So the way we're going to address it, instead of going after the XLR, we're going to take a MAX -8 that can fly almost as far as the XLR, and then a max dash 10 that's almost as big. And so the combination really of the 8, the 9, and the 10 will cover everything that we need to go, and even some markets that we haven't started yet that our network team would love to be able to fly. I think the Airbus XLR, the A321 XLR, will be a great airplane. Lots of colleagues at other airlines around the world that are very excited about it and what that can fly. I just think it isn't a good fit for Alaska.
So, will you, so this is for the viewers, but will you ever bring it back, in-flight entertainment?
You know, that's a great question. And I never is a long time, guys, but I would say we very much think that we're on the right path in terms of people bringing their own devices on airplanes. And so the strategy for Alaska right now is we need to make our in-flight connectivity, our Wi-Fi capabilities as fast as it possibly can be, so that if every guest brings their own device onto the airplane, they've got the ability to stream. They've got the ability to follow a sports game, either tracking it or watching it live. And basically, it's our job to produce the pipe so that you've got the ability to connect, and whether you're 30,000 feet in the sky, you've landed and you're at the airport taxiing to a gate, we want that bandwidth to be able for any of our guests to watch what they want to. And then secondly, we're going to have a lot of stored content on the aircraft as well. And so tremendous movie selection, series selection, music, etc., and have all of that in place. But the logic behind it really, number one, people bring their own devices and want to be able to watch their own content. But secondly, team, the amount of weight and the amount of expense that actually in-flight equipment costs is a lot. I mean, if you think about it, the more pounds you put on an airplane, the more fuel it requires to be able to fly from point A to point B. And so not having IFE saves our fuel bill a little bit, saves on maintenance costs as well. And we think as long as guests don't discriminate against Alaska or not buy tickets on Alaska because we don't have it, it probably means we're on the right track. So I would never say never, but I think right now what we've got working is pretty good, and we'd rather spend the money making sure that we've got the fastest Wi-Fi connection we possibly can.
So I just wanted to ask a real quick question. So if I'm looking as far out as January of 2023, I can still see on a flight down to LAX that I'm flying on an A321. And I just noticed that all of your A321s from Alaska were heading into DCA, and you just pulled out of there, and they're now replaced with 737-800s. But I see a lot of flights that are going to LAX are A321s. Can you explain?
Well, I think obviously we fly a very big network and so many different city pairs, about 1,000 departures a day. So, and we have obviously all kinds of airplane types, right? We've got 737s, 700s, 800s, 900s, 900 ERs, and then 737 MAX 9s. In addition, we've got the A321 NEOs, and we've got actually A320s until really January 3rd or 4th of this year, and then they'll all be gone. My point is, you've got all these missions and routes, right? And one of the jobs that I really like to do, and I've done it for a long time at a lot of different places, is to optimally match the size of airplane with the route that you're flying. And so that's actually how airlines make the most money and make sure that one of you used the phrase earlier about playing the cards that you're dealt. And so the best way to, in essence, play the cards, the airplanes that you have, is to match them up best. Where are they going to perform the best and match that? So, for example, an A321 NEO, the sweet spot for that airplane is probably a route that's 2,500 miles. So flying that airplane from San Diego to DCA, Seattle to Boston, the longer you fly it, the better that airplane is. And then equally, you wouldn't want to fly that airplane from Seattle to Portland because, you don't use the capability of the airplane. So we mix and match airplanes with routes all the time. And the goal is to try to match up the airplane's capability with the distance of the route and how many people you're going to have on the airplane.
There's been a lot of debate about this too, so do you guys consider yourselves a budget airline or
You know, we do not actually. I think that the spectrum, I would say, is on the low end of the spectrum. Budget usually isn't the term, but the term that people use is ULCC. So ultra low cost carrier is what that would be. And so Frontier and Spirit would be the carriers in that, and they market and they are successful solely on price. So they don't offer much product. You don't get to check a bag for free. You want to drink on the airplane, you want a seat assignment, you're going to pay for all of that. But if all you care about is getting from point A to point B at the lowest possible fare, then the ULCCs are who you want to be. The other end of the spectrum is what I would call full service airlines. So think United, American, Delta, who fly all over the world. They fly wide-body airplanes with flatbed, first-class seats. Many of them have IFE, and so they tend to try to focus on business travelers, and so their prices would normally be much higher, and they would offer a much richer product than the ULCCs. Guys, I would classify Alaska as kind of being in the middle. The term we use is hybrid. So we are a hybrid carrier, and in a way, that's a tough position to be in because you're competing with both. You're competing with ULCCs on price, and you're competing with the high full-service carriers on product. And the good news is, as you've seen from our financial results, we actually do very well as a hybrid carrier. So we price our product accordingly. So we offer a much better product than the ULCCs do, and we price our product at a number that's higher than the ULCCs, and we compete really well against them because our guests decide, you know what, it costs more to fly from Seattle to Las Vegas on Alaska than it does Seattle to Las Vegas on Spirit, but I'm willing to pay that incremental amount of money because I get that much better of an experience on it. And so that works okay. And then on the other side, let's call Seattle, Atlanta, where Alaska competes with Delta. And we would price probably, let's say $20 less on a Seattle, Atlanta flight against Delta than they would. And our product maybe isn't as perfect. It isn't flatbed seat, but we offer a very good product, good amenities. People love our service. Our flight attendants are amazing. And it ultimately is the point where people decide, you know what, Alaska's product is good enough that I don't need to spend that extra $20 or whatever it is on that full service carrier. I want to fly Alaska because I really love their service, and I can do it at a price amount that's less than the full service carriers. It's a tough place to be caught in the middle, but so far we've been able to work that really well. And I think our success and the fact that we've been here.
So this is a fun one. Since the Seattle Mariners made it really far this year, would you want to make a special Mariners livery? Would that be in the future? I think a lot of fans in Seattle would love that.
That actually is a terrific question. So one of the nifty things, guys, about Alaska and our marketing department is fantastic, and at Horizon too. So we have many special liveries. I think starting with Horizon, we've got a ton of collegiate liveries that have flown around in SeaTac all the time on our Q400s. And then, Alaska, so many different celebratory liveries as well. With Disney, we've got a great one with the United Negro College Fund. and variety of airplanes in special colors that are causes that are really important to us, as well as marketing agreements. We are the official airline of the Mariners, great sponsorship for a long time, and I personally am a baseball fan and have been for a long time. It's what I played growing up. So love the playoff run that we're on. I can't tip our hand on that and see where we are, but it's something that, listen, there's no bigger supporter of our hometown teams. You guys called us the hometown airline. We take that honor very seriously, and it's something that I think would be fantastic. I'll take the idea and go back and see what we can do about it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. You guys made my day. Super enjoyable. Thanks so much, and great to meet you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. And thank you all the viewers for watching this.
Thank you all viewers for watching this special edition of American Aviation Network. And thank you to both you guys for taking time out of your day to answer some of our questions. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Have a great weekend.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Go Alaska.